Welcome to the Deal by Me podcast, where we ask guests to tell us your story. Hello there, this is Dr. James W. Smith, your host. We seek to transform lives by encouraging and inspiring. Someone encouraged and inspired this host, a former lawyer, gambler, inmate, and his life was transformed. Same can happen to you. So when you listen to any of the Deal by Me podcasts, please support this podcast with a donation or a monthly recurring amount for as little as $3. If you're viewing any of the podcasts on YouTube, please subscribe. To supporters of this podcast, we say thank you. Check out my encouraging, inspiring, and transforming books. I'm available for speaking engagements in person and virtual seminars. So please contact me through my website, www.dealbyme.com. I have with me guest Motsemme, who has been empowering individuals to reinvent themselves, redesign their life, and rebuild their confidence after major life shifts. She was empowered through major life shifts herself, such as marriage relationship, separation from children, and judicial injustice. She has an awesome story, and I'm certain that you're going to enjoy her. And so I want to ask you to pay close attention to what she has to say, as I know you will be empowered by her story. Uh, I'm going to say um, Miss Motsemme. Maybe that'll help me a little bit because your name is one that I'm having a hard time dealing with. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and where you've been interviewed from.
Thanks for having me. I am from Germany. And before we can jump in, I love to start just by also greeting your audience. And I do that in my native language. Dumelang, Lokai. I originally come from Botswana in Southern Africa. And when we say Dumelang, it's agree. That's a direct translation, agree.
Mm.
Lokai is where are you? Locate yourself. And I want to start by just asking you, what are you agreeing to as you are coming here to listen to Deal by Me podcast? So where are you? Are you fully here, or part of you is still focused on what is happening? And with that, I'm just asking you, are you willing to be present? And this time, being present differently. One of the major shifts of change, because I have a background of change management, it's choosing not to know. So my invite is, as we are here, and whatever that you choose to agree to, just choose to listen differently. And by that, I mean be in the body and see what your body is sharing with you, the sensations that are coming through. Don't just listen from the mind, but with your whole beingness.
Mm.
So thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. That was really, really powerful. I do appreciate that. I, I've had the opportunity to read your profile and to just study it to learn a little bit more about you. But I must admit that it is very interesting. It's very intriguing and uh, actually inspiring. And it's one of the reasons I want you to come on my podcast as a guest because I thought that listeners of this podcast could really benefit from what you have to say, especially those who've gone through some of the same, uh, probably have walked the same walk that you have walked. So as I look at this, you talk a lot about healing and your personal journey. So I want to ask you what inspired you to you know dive into this particular niche of healing, and how has your personal journey influenced your professional approach? Could you talk about that a little bit for listeners of this
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah. That's a great question, and I also find it interesting that you have a background in law because going through the judicial injustice, there is a lot that came through around whether it's lawyers or just people around this work. And I'm always happy when I see someone who is, like you said, your life has been transformed as you go through that. And I truly believe what we seek seeks us. So I knew who I was and what I was here to do as a child. The healing, I knew that I was a healer since I was a child. But I know that the moment I started opening my mouth and sharing with my family what I was coming through, what I was experiencing, the dreams, what I was connecting with, they also knew. They just said, "Oh my God, you're gonna end up being a traditional doctor." But they didn't want that. The response was, you should go to church so that you don't end up being a traditional doctor. So I just went through life fighting that, because when you share some things beyond the human eyes, and especially in a world where we just operating from the mind, it's either people say you are weird or you're crazy. There is a sort of the rejection feel that comes with that. And for not wanting to be weird, I also just dived into the account because I was an accountant. And for me, it was just how it was accepted in the society and the money that came with it. But sometimes we are not meant to be that. We can follow whatever that everyone is doing because we live in the society where we are not we are not taught to listen within. What is it that we are built for? What is it that wants to be birthed through us? We are not taught to follow the inner guidance, but more to follow the systems that are out there, which is the judicial system, the medical system, the educational system, the political system, so all these things that are teaching us who we are. So we are more looking for who we are outside of us. But then I went through life running away from myself, feeling not accepted, starting with my own family, because when you showing up the way you're showing up, I showed up the way I am, and I come from a very traditional family. So one of the words that my mom used to say a lot was, "You are not like any of my children." So it's kind of like we fought for that. Like, I get to be different. No, that's not how you get to be. This is how a girl get to be. This is how my children are. And I was like, but it's okay, just me being me. But as much as I fought and tried to hold into my uniqueness, which is something that we deny because we want to belong, somehow I thought I've won, but I didn't. Because when I look at the relationships that I had, not only romantic, but even at work, I always had bosses who also just picked up on me, just like my mom would pick up on me. So it created that wound that of not feeling accepted at times, not even feeling enough, and also sharing of my own point, my own
Mhm.
opinion, my own guidance, because I just want to belong. But then life started happening where I lost my corporate job. And immediately my younger brother had a near-death accident that I actually saw before it even happened. 2 weeks prior to the accident, I saw this accident happening and I knew it was real. Like, that's what I shared with him. I said, the way I was crying and talking about the dreams you had, it was so real. And I love this. When I shared with him what came through, his response was, "Oh, how I'm gonna live for a very long time. So don't
Mm.
worry about me." And then the accident happened. And my mother was on her knees and she said, "God, but why? Why did you why my last born? Why not me? Why don't you take me at least? You know?
Mm.
And yeah, her health was also not good. And at that moment as well, when I first saw him at the hospital, I remember I went, I saw him, I couldn't believe the state that he was in. And when I came home, I also knelt down crying and I said, "God, do whatever that you get to do to
Mm.
spare his life, save him.
Okay.
And I'm
Wow.
gonna do what I came here to do." And for me, I believe that was the moment that I said yes to this work. It's more like I allowed my soul to express itself through me, but I didn't know what it was gonna take, you
Okay.
know. So a year after my mom passed, shortly after my mom passed, then my ex-boyfriend started this judicial journey where he wanted the children. And because I was not working at that moment, I just lost my mom. And also financially taking care of my younger brother with the package that I got from this company. It was just a lot. But as much as all these things were happening, it was more like what I thought I was and what I have attached to was crumbling, and rightfully so, because I was identifying with it. So all that had to collapse so that I may find who I was. And by finding who I was, which is this pain brought me back to me, then the words that came through, because this was just like a message that came through so clearly. It's time for you to do what you came here to do.
Okay. I'm hear you very well. There is I'm trying to make certain I follow you and that I can have listeners of this podcast follow where you are. I gather that somebody passed that you're talking about that had something to do with your change of your life. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, I lost my job. My younger brother had an accident. My mother passed on, and then I was separated with my
Okay.
children.
Okay. Now I
Yeah.
got you. Okay. I just want to make sure I had these in kind of in sequence of knowing what you were doing. Now, part of what you were going through, I guess, during your, child life, you talked about, your parents and what have you. So I want to kind of dwell in on how does reconnecting with one's inner child, not only boost confidence, but fundamentally change, uh, you know, their interactions in the workplace and their personal relationships. Can you
Mhm.
kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. Our inner child is a very big part of who we are or what we here to be, do, and have. So as we are born into a family
Hmm.
where there is imprints and parents, and this is what we are taught. And we learn who we be through the eyes of our caretakers or our parents. And there is some wounding that happens, even though it's not always intentional. It's people are just giving us what they're giving us. Like I said, my mom wanted me to be like her other children. And actually, I'm just gonna share this quickly because, like I said, there was a dance between me and her. And I remember, like a few months before she passed, something happened, and I was in that down place of myself, and she said something, and I turned around with all this anger and sadness and all that, and I said, I know you hate me. And for the first time, I saw the sadness, the shock in her face. And she said, I don't hate you. I don't. I was never taught how to affirm a child.
Hmm.
I just knew that when you affirm a child and praise a child, they become big-headed. That's how I was raised, but it doesn't mean that I hate you. So what happens is there is an interpretation of whatever that is happening around us. We interpret it a certain way. And for a child, it may, even when you are busy working, you are trying to make ends meet for your child, but because you are absent for that child, it may mean that that job is better. And hence, other people at times even procrastinate, or other people just work hard because they've seen their parents work hard, or when they were working hard and passing, that's how they were. When they were praised for passing, they think, oh, that's the only way I can get love. So they go ahead and work hard so that they can be more complimented or validated because that's a form of love that they received. So we
Hmm.
create this interpretation and we go through life coming from that or creating from that, even in relationship. So by connecting to the inner child, it's you. getting to be that safe space for that child. If at all that child was not loved, felt rejected or abandoned or whatever that happened, it's now you getting to be the ideal parent that your inner child needs so that you can feel safe. Because our inner child holds the codes to our vision. So if our inner child does not feel safe, it's going to be that self-sabotaging pattern that is going to come through. More like, I'm going to throw a tantrum
Mm.
so that someone can pay attention. And you show up in a relationship from this tantrum, you throwing a tantrum, you are not becoming a partner, you are more looking for a parent or a mother or a father in the relationship. And at times, because of the fear, even when it comes to the professional life, it's more like I get to be defensive. And by being defensive, even if you can be promoted and have a higher position at work, but you don't know how to relate because you're afraid that if people get to see your weakness, then they will take advantage of that. So you are always protective. Because everything is relational. If you're not able to create deep connection, then it's going to affect your leadership. As I say, leadership is presence. And if you're not able to be present because your mind is running many miles and trying to calculate things, trying to appear as intelligent. Even when you are hurting, you can't even share it to say, you know what, I'm going through something and I would like time for myself. That's why a lot of people end up with anxiety, burnout, and all that because they have a false idea and illusion of emotional resilience,
Mm.
but it's more like I have to prove a point. It's not necessarily who they are being. So an inner child is a very important part of us. If we integrate it and it feels safe, it doesn't get to act out or go out and look for that love out there or feel threatened by other relationships. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was struck by reading something in your profile that shared how you were separated, I think, from your kids for, I believe, a number of years. I'm not sure now how many years it was. And it was through a African ancient quantum medicine that you practiced that I think I read where it allowed you, you as a result of that, you ended up reuniting with your children. And of course, I won't say without a lawyer because that's going to make you laugh. But, 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 but I wanna ask you to talk about uh, the type of um, practice because many listeners of this podcast hear this, they don't know exactly what it's all about. So can you walk us through your process of using African ancient quantum medicine and how does it differ from more traditional or conventional healing practices?
Mhm. That's a great question. And I'll just take you back to where I started when I said, don't listen with the mind,
Okay.
listen from the body. And
Listen from the
that's
what now? Say that again.
from the body.
Okay.
As in, like, allow the body to share with you what it's feeling or
Okay.
what is happening through it,
Okay.
because either with other practices, it's more like trying to understand everything from the mind. But at the same time, you realize that we create the problems from the mind,
Mhm.
and this is also one of the reasons why there is a lot of information, but a lot of people's life is not transforming. It's kind of like I know a lot, people know
Okay.
a lot, but they don't know how to be. They function from the neck up, but the neck down, they're kind of like dead or disconnected. So with my work, the magic is in the body. So I get to more like as a scanner, I get to scan what is happening in the body.
Okay.
Where are the emotions stored? And it does different conversations, they will highlight different things in the body. So I get into the body and find out where are the emotional block, physical block, mental blocks, where are they stored in the body? And then remove them. It's just kind of like you doing a surgery, but without opening your body or anything.
Okay.
So that's the difference. And the magic behind it, why people even get amazing results, is that I bring you back into the body. Like I said, most people are disconnected from their body, either because there was a traumatic incident that happened and part of them left the body, or just because they do not feel safe. And one of the things, especially just giving a simple example with women, you know, um, the society is telling women who to be, what is the nice body and all that. So people are disconnected from their body. And I can still go back and give you an example with the patriarchal wound, which I said patriarchal wounding made men powerless, and it made women powerless. It shut off the man's heart and it shut off the woman's womb. So for me, with my work, that's where I go and bring everyone in the body and find out where are the blocks that are interfering with people being safe in the body. No matter what you get to create, you are here as much as you are a soul, but at the same time, you are a soul that is working the body that you are in. And for you to be able to create anything in life, including even giving birth,
Hmm.
it's for you to be in the body. The same process of creation is the same process that we use when we are making love with each other. And as much as I can talk about making love, there is a lot of also sex, as in sexual activity, that is out there, but the sensuality is missing. So you realize that even when I'm talking about trauma, people are thinking about something big. But one thing that I've realized is that for women, they experience trauma at times on a daily basis, every time when they are being intimate with their partner. Because women have been conditioned to believe like they're using sex to get love, and they were conditioned to believe that that sexual energy is to serve men or only for procreation. So they allow somebody to penetrate them when they are not ready. So sexual energy is one of the things that it's big when it comes to my work. And the disconnection from this energy is also what causes a lot of people to at times even be depressed or even be suicidal, because this is the energy of creation. This is the flow of life. When you are disconnected from it, then you don't feel alive. You are disconnected from your desires. You go through life feeling lost. And it's also the energy that is connected to your purpose, to your creativity, even to your wealth. So when you are disconnected from it, you don't feel alive. So those are the things that I would say I'm just picking up those things that are coming through normally when I connect to the body, but not forgetting even the ancestral part. Because with my work, when I trace through the body, I can tell this is the maternal issues, paternal issues. This is where this is stored. This is ancestral, and this is what is holding you back. So these are the things that I'm helping people disconnect from, and also pull in the gifts that they need and release what doesn't serve them, so that they can connect to that unique soul signature, which is connecting to your higher self, basically. So that's what is different from my work and other people's work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gathering, and just to make sure that your process of healing relates more to the body than it does to the mind. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, or I would say it's more aligning the mind, the body, and the heart or the soul. It's
Oh,
more like aligning. Yeah.
okay. Everything is working more together rather
Yeah.
than, okay. I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
I understand now. Very interesting. Um, you know, it's very interesting conversation, and your sharing is very interesting. Uh, I'm trying to right now assess my audience and the guests and what they may be going through as they're listening to this podcast, you know, can have some of them experience some of the same things that you've experienced, uh, from uh, a sexual viewpoint, a relational viewpoint, uh, other matters of separation, marital relationships, having problem with the court system. I see so many things here, and so I'm trying to ask you now if there are listeners who are dealing with any of these matters or all of these matters. What is it that you would say to them that would be encouraging, that would be inspiring, transforming? Can you have a word with them?
Yeah. That's a great question. And what is coming to mind as you're asking this question, it's the moment when I was going through my own situations
Mm-hmm.
and feeling all the rage, as in like anger and all that. Plus, I just grew up with, I was an angry child, let me just say. But as a girl, being angry, it's not womanly, it's not gaily, it's not attractive, so it's one of the things that we push aside. And here I found myself going through something. But at the same time, especially in this world where everything is like, be positive, be positive, be positive. So we are chasing what I call toxic positivity because you don't feel it, but you are trying to be it. For who? For other people, right?
Mm.
So as I was going through this, I had a connection with Divine Mother Ocean.
What's that?
And Mother Ocean said, embrace who you are, all
Okay.
of you.
Okay.
You are beautiful, no matter how you're showing up.
Mm.
And
Okay.
she said, look at me. People claim to love the ocean, but they don't. They just love to go by the beach, by the surface, and they just walk, all dressed up nicely, taking pictures, right? But they don't like the deep, dark waters. So, for you to be able to attract the people who love you for who you are, you get to first accept who you are.
Mm.
There is beauty in all of your raw emotions.
Okay.
Emotions are the evidence of life.
Mm.
They show you where you are not in alignment, but it doesn't mean that you get to reject them. She said, when I am angry, nothing stops on my way. But it doesn't take out who I am. I still remain the ocean. So
You,
that's all I can share with you today. Your
and
emotions are beautiful.
you call it Mother Ocean. I like that,
Yeah,
which is powerful. Nothing can stop it.
yeah.
I love it. I
But it
I
doesn't take
I
away from who she is. It's
I hear
still the
you.
ocean.
I hear you. I hear you. Amazing. Stay with us, listeners. Just a few more questions. But first of all, I want to ask uh, Gao uh, Motsemme, if listeners want to learn a little bit more about you, how would they contact you? Do you have a book, website, or anything of that nature that you can share with them?
Yeah. I'm available in all platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook,
Okay.
Instagram, TikTok. Gao Motsemme, GaoMotsemme. And in Instagram, it's gaomotsemme.magneticconfidence. My website is gaomotsemme.com. And I'm going to share a link here with you
Okay.
and your audience.
Okay.
It's I'll share with you bit.ly/orgasmic clarity. This is like a free 45 minutes intro to my work where I get to know what is stopping you from being fully successful and embracing your freedom. So if you are open to find out what is stopping on your way, what is interfering with your success and freedom, um, James W. Smith will share the link with you, and you
Okay.
can book your free
Okay.
orgasmic clarity. And what you do with it, it's up to you. I'm just going to share what is coming through from your body and your consciousness, and you can make a decision on how you go ahead with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that so very much. Well, let me ask you just a couple more questions and we'll bring this to a close. Um, how does healing generational trauma not only change individual lives, but also transform family dynamics for future generations? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And one thing that I love about healing generational patterns is that you are not doing it only for you. You are doing it for those who went before you and those who are going to come after you. It's because it's like I said, this is patterns that are being passed over, you know. And I believe someone has to stand up and raise their hand and say, it stops with me, because often we run away from this, or either we run away or those who went before us did not have
Mm-hmm.
the tools and the right knowledge, because things have shifted, even when I look at the evolution. And I'm just going to go back to where I started, where when I shared with my mom to say, this is what is coming through. And she said, oh my God, you're going to be a traditional doctor. Maybe you should go to church. And why is that? Because in their lineage before, like one of her uncles disappeared for many years. And then after they've given up, this person came through fully initiated in his gifts and all that. And for them, there was just fear that, oh my God, if you get to embrace your calling, that means you're gonna disappear for many years and then come and practice, But that was then. This is now. Back then, for someone to go through that transformation, it's something that it was not the body was not ready to bring in the codes that I needed. But now it's different. And even when I look at the awareness and the knowledge that we had back in the past, things have shifted. So when you choose in the now moment to say, I am willing to be the one who's going to end this, it's much easier. And it also, like I said, it frees those who went before you. And it's also going to serve your children. For instance, when we're talking about toxic parents, when you look at the patterns that you are going through, especially in relationships, you realize that these are the parents that have been there in the family, they've been passed over and it has been considered as normal, but it's not normal because you don't feel expansive when you connect with that. For instance, when I look at, it's quite interesting because I had an interview with somebody and this person just said, women are meant to be agreeable. And when it comes to intuition and feeling our emotions and nurturing, that's a woman's role, it's not for men. And that's where we're coming from, right? And we can look at where we are to say, how has that served us? The reason why there's so much wounded, there's so much pain is because of that same mentality. And that's what we are working on right now to say, as a man, can you open up and fully feel all the emotions that are coming through? I mean, I can imagine, because I love talking about a king fully embodying his sacred masculinity. Because a man who can connect to himself at that deeper level is able to know what is going on around him without other people saying anything, is able to know what his partner needs even in the bedroom. He's attuned to his desires and his partner's desires. And the same thing that happens when we're talking about an attuned woman. And I believe together, when we come in from that wholeness, we can lead better. And this is why I'm big on freedom of individuality. It's not like the codependency that has been ingrained on us from since we were children. Now we believe like as when a man meets a woman, then it's half meeting half and then become one. What about one meeting one and it's whole plus whole? So we get to elevate each other. We get to cheer each other's up and make sure that the other person get to follow what serves them rather than the other person holding back in insecurity, feeling unworthy. Because that is, even if we may not talk about it, it's something that pulls each other down. And I talk about even as women, we may be present with our children, but are we really present? or we are present but occupied by the stress, by the frustration in our life. We are present but emotionally unavailable, right? And we cause the same harm, actually, or even more than the absent parent, by being present and being consumed by our own stress and all that. So when we heal all that we have carried from all past generation, and then we can teach the young girl, the young boy, how to be. And as I believe, as us women, we are here to heal and restore the heart of humanity. You can hold space for your man, even when he's falling, like all feeling down and all the emotions, and you still see the beauty and the power and the strength of a man who is allowing himself to feel. How awesome would it be? So for me, this is what it means to heal all these patterns so that we can all be and not deny the natural beingness, whether it's that sexual desire, whether it's feeling our emotion, then we can all hold each other's hand and lead together.
I hear you. I hear you. You have been awesome, uh, Gail. I enjoyed the interview, and I just wish we had time to ask you many more questions because you have just shared quite a bit with us today, and I'm grateful that you chose to be a guest on this podcast. And again, thank you for sharing. And until next time, peace and blessings be with each of you.